to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
What is going on? It is August 4th. It is Tuesday. We are the Fantasy Footballers, and we are back again for another episode of the podcast. I am here, as always, with Mike, the Fantasy Hitman, Wright.
Good something. Morning, whatever, whenever you're listening.
That's
Good
true.
podcast.
I am Andy Holloway. That was Jason Moore.
Hello, Foot Clan. We're happy to be back.
I'm feeling kind of desperate in between shows right now because so much is happening, and we have been recording podcasts since February.
Oh, yeah. Two
And
in the
so-
off-season.
Yeah, and so I am feeling desperate because we were, in the off-season, middle of the off-season, it was like, which mediocre wide receiver was signed this bi-weekly period? And now you have like 20 pieces of news dropping, and you have to parse it and figure out what's going on, and I'm excited because we got a Hall of Fame game coming up.
Sunday. There are no more Sundays without football.
For a long time.
I could cry right now.
Welcome to the show. If you are a new listener, we welcome you into the Fantasy Footballers. We deliver all the latest fantasy football news, information. We got a mock draft going on today. We have a website, www.thefantasyfootballers.com. You can follow us on Twitter at the FFBallers. We got a YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. Every show goes on there. We also answer some questions on the YouTube channel. I have a quick question. Jason's waving at the camera.
I was saying hello
I know,
to YouTube.
that was super smart.
Yeah.
Quick question. Let's talk sleepers.
Yeah.
All right, give me one sleeper or deep sleeper that you have your eyes on right now, if you want me to define the difference.
No, I think we can get it.
I do.
All right. I was wrong.
I kind of just wanted to talk about the difference, but I look at sleepers as somebody who's probably rounds 9 to 12, and deep sleepers is probably undrafted. That you could grab at the last pick, because otherwise we shouldn't talk about them. So, who wants to go first? Who has a sleeper?
I got my sleeper that I love. I love him. He is the guy that I am targeting in every draft, so long as there's any kind of half-point PPR or PPR, and that is Daniel Woodhead. He goes by Danny Woodhead if you're going to draft him.
Only his mother calls him Daniel.
Yeah, his mother and me. Danny Woodhead, a lot of people forget about him, mostly because he was injured all last year.
Not because he's so short?
He's short, he's a little bit older, and he was injured last year. Kick him out of the league.
He's like Waldo. It's very hard to find.
Very hard. Hard for the defenders to find as well.
Helpful.
Because the last time that he played 2 years ago, he finished the year, and nobody realizes this, as an RB Uno. As an RB1. 2 years ago in a PPR league, he finished as a top 12 running back. That is incredible, and he's coming back now, and the reports out of camp from the Chargers say that Melvin Gordon is not doing well in pass protection.
Shocking.
And Melvin Gordon came in...
Rookie running back, not good in pass protection?
Well, that's probably because he came in with a rap sheet that said he couldn't catch the ball because he wasn't used in those situations, so he has no experience. So who's going to be on the field every time it matters? Danny Woodhead. So I love him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thanks.
My main sleeper.
Yeah, I know yours, and I don't like it.
I know you don't like it.
I don't like it, and yet I'm starting to agree with it, and I'll tell you why. But go ahead.
Is Mr. Roy Halou of the Oakland Raiders.
I think he's right, Jason.
What?
I do. I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't
time out. I feel like right now I am trying to agree with Andy, who does not agree with himself. I don't know what's going on.
No.
I like that I don't even have to explain everything, so Andy's going to do it.
All I'm saying is this. I don't think Trent Richardson makes the roster. And if he doesn't make the roster, and Latavius Murray's, he's going to be the guy. Mike, you don't disagree that he's going to be the RB1?
I don't disagree that he will get the first shot.
All right. So you can give your Roy Halou love. I don't.
So Roy Halou, he's a little bit shorter, but he's 5'11", 220. And he's thick enough to handle the beating of the NFL.
That's not that short either.
Well, for
NFL running back?
Yeah, well, you say what's the optimal height for a running back? 6'1"?
6 at the
Is
most.
it?
Maybe
Is it
5'11",
6?
probably.
I don't know. That's an interesting question that we should.
But
anyway,
continue talking.
So his rookie season was the only year where he's gotten a significant workload. It was 150 carries. He had a 4.2 yard per carry average. But
Steaming hot fantasy tip.
The average height for a running back in the NFL is between 5'10" and 5'11".
well, then he is the perfect height.
There you go.
He's even better than I thought. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, you're welcome. More Halou love for no reason.
So Halou gets a ton of targets every year because he is an excellent pass catcher, and he's a great pass protector. He's excellent at blocking. And what Andy said about Trent Richardson has actually upped him in my sleeper value, where I thought maybe Trent Richardson would get some carries here and there. Maybe they look at him to be the guy. But I agree with Andy. I think his chances of actually making the roster are not so good. He showed up overweight. He was placed inactive to start the training camp. It's not looking good for Mr. Richardson. And lots of people like Latavius Murray. The talent is there. I'm not disagreeing with the talent. I'm just not sure it's going to translate. And he's never had the workload. He's never proven
that's
anything.
the thing, and you need to apply that exact same thinking, in my opinion, to the rookie running backs. The same. I was going to say you need to treat Latavius Murray mostly like a rookie. He had a few games. You have a different offense, a different system. Treat him the same way you do those guys, which is a little bit. You have to keep the Monte Ball alert in the back of your head.
Well, if there was only a rookie ahead of Roy Halou, then I would say Roy Halou would be a good pick. So according to you, that's good.
And I think his average draft position is off the board.
Halou's in the 13th.
Yeah,
Murray
exactly.
is in the 4th.
Yeah. So,
I
don't compare them because he's
but I'm just
saying
lots of people like Murray, but he hasn't played, and he's going in the 4th round.
I like it just so I can doubt fire and always say hello.
That is one
Roy
of the perks of starting him in your fantasy league.
Yep, I'm drafting him.
I'll get through mine really quickly. It's amazing that he is a sleeper, but this guy's being drafted in the 13th round. So Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is being drafted in the 13th round, all but forgotten. Reports have come out that he was pretty injured last year and he did not perform well in Harbaugh's system. But this is a guy that's had 2 13-touchdown seasons. He's also got Tony Sperano coming in as the tight end coach, who, if you remember Sperano, he also was the coach for Witten during a couple of his Pro Bowl seasons.
Right.
We know that the talent's there, at least. My only doubt with Vernon Davis is it somehow a physical thing that is no longer left.
He's only 31 for tight ends. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
but his game was he was an athletic freak, and cliff. Once you hit that cliff, man, it's done.
And that's the question. But I mean, he is 31, and I do think he's going to have a pretty good year. So I think if you're in that draft a guy late, take a shot. I mean, Vernon Davis is a guy we've at least seen perform. So let's go ahead and read a review from our listeners, and then we'll move on to some news.
Reviewasaurus Rex.
This one comes in from Brian A. He says,
I don't know why that was funny.
Foot Clan Unite. These guys are great. Not only are they hilarious, but they're extremely accessible for all your fantasy/Oreo related questions.
Both.
I listen. Yeah, it's really true. We'll answer Oreo related questions. We're kind of experts. I listen to a lot of fantasy football podcasts, and I can safely say that these guys are my favorite. Foot Clan for life.
Well, thank you very much for that, Brian A. We appreciate your review.
Sounded like you're mad at him.
I'm not mad. I'm happy.
Brian A.
And just a quick note, we really
It wasn't like A, like Canadian A, right?
That's why I was going to ask. Is it EH? Or
No. I actually truncated his last name because he put his whole name.
Thanks to the review.
Thanks, Brian. But we really appreciate the reviews. They help the show out a ton.
Yeah.
More than you'll probably ever know. And we really appreciate them.
More than we'll ever tell you.
More than we ourselves know. We have no idea the help.
So right after we solicit some reviews, let's go ahead and tell everybody that there's no more spots left in the Listener League.
Hey!
Yes, it has been filled. We had a couple open spots left. We resisted the temptation to eBay one of those off. And or did we? Is there a 13th spot? Is there a 13th spot
I'll
in this
sell
league?
my team. I'll sell my team for the league.
It's like selling your WoW character.
or your firstborn.
I'm putting it on
WoW
eBay.
character.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mike, why don't you say something to all the fine people that submitted entries?
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the support and the entries. It got very, very difficult towards the end to make the selection. There was some fantastic stuff coming in. The passion, the support is really overwhelming. We weren't expecting this many entries, so it was kind of a difficult thing to really, really get the cream of the crop. And so thank you to everyone.
A lot of
who
time
entered.
invested. So we really appreciate that. Thank you for those. And so welcome to the league, those that made the cut.
Check your
This
email.
year. Check your email. We'll have the information for the league. Let's go ahead and talk some news.
News and notes from around the league.
Have I even said we're having a mock draft on this show?
Yes.
I think in passing.
Yes.
Okay, we have a live 12-team standard mock draft coming up.
It's
so.
the golden... I mean, it's the standardest league, right? That's what.
Well, we threw another wide receiver in just for fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
pretty
play
much.
with 3
No, you're right. They do. So stay tuned for that. Let's get through these news and notes. I'm going to read these off. You guys jump in if you think there's something specific, but I want people to know what's going on. Camp is
Rolling.
breaking news for us. So out of Jets camp, rookie wide receiver Devin Smith has fractured ribs, a partially punctured lung, 4 to 6 weeks. He's a guy we briefly talked about as just every once in a while is going to catch that deep ball. I talked about him from Ohio State. He can catch them, but he is not going to catch them for a while.
Yeah.
No.
That's the only thing to say on it. That's just sad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy.
Out of Pittsburgh, there is some news about Martavis Bryant. He's missing some time with an elbow infection.
This one is worth talking about, I think, for a second.
Well, let me mix in the second part of the news, which is that Ben Roethlisberger did come on a local show and talk.
No, he was on Sirius.
On Sirius and talked about Marcus Wheaton, and the context of that was the possibility of Wheaton being that number 2. Or we know they're kind of competing, and the foregone conclusion in the offseason was that Bryant would run away with it. But there's some concern that maybe they're splitting time exactly like last year, which I still think isn't the worst for Bryant's standard league value. So what did you have to say about that, Jay?
I wanted to hear Mike, because I know Mike was the one that brought this to our attention. I wanted to know the specifics of what
you heard
Big
this
Ben
from
said.
camp itself, didn't you?
Well, I listened to we tweeted out, fellas. We tweeted out the audio clip, and Big Ben said verbatim that Marcus Wheaton is our number 2 in 2 wide sets, and then when they go 3 wide, he'll be in the slot.
Yeah,
It makes a big difference for...
Yeah, that's some cold water on Marty McBride.
a little bit. Yeah, he moved down for me a little bit. This is that time I was going to say to our listeners, we have all these preseason rankings. We've talked a lot about guys that we are waiting to see on in camp. Bryant's an example of that, CJ Anderson, some other guys. And so I'm not trying to overreact to that. I'm not trying to put fear into everybody. I think Bryant's going to have a great season. He's a physical specimen, and I think double-digit touchdowns is well within his possibility. But keep that in mind if you're waiting for him to jump up into the wide receiver 1 range or something. But it's a great offense. Out of Dolphins camp, this is a good thing to remember. Damian Williams is still on the team. We haven't talked enough about him. He did open Dolphins camp as the second team back behind Lamar Miller. It makes some sense. This is in the context of Jay Ajayi.
Correct. And Damian Williams was an adequate pass protector. So if you're trying to hope Ajayi sneaks in for third downs,
wait and see.
It might not be this year.
Seahawks signed, I haven't heard of this guy before, quarterback Russell Wilson.
It's like the ball, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, from the movie.
Right. Yep. You
With
got
Tom
it.
Hanks.
Castaway.
Russell Wilson to a 4-year, $87.6 million for a guy I've never heard of. That's a lot of money. Contract extension, $60 million guaranteed, locks him up in Seattle. Doesn't change the fantasy landscape, but now we don't have to be distracted.
Yeah, we don't have to do that garbage of sources I will not name leaking stories that maybe Russell Wilson will not be there next year.
Yep.
The most ludicrous crap you've ever read.
I love because offseason it builds and builds and builds and builds, and then as soon as they sign the deal, it's done. You know what I mean? It's like you're never going to hear about it again. Patriots camp. I love this. A guy I have ranked 1 spot ahead of Danny Woodhead in PPR leagues, believe it or not.
What?
Before this news.
In PPR?
Before this news.
Well, yeah, it has to be PPR.
Patriots coach Bill Belichick has talked up second-year running back James White following Monday's training camp practice. Why is this important? Because the third down back, that pass-catching back, catches passes in the Patriot system. Believe it or not, Shane Vereen was the leading receiver in the Super Bowl. 11 catches for Shane Vereen. So there is a role in
And do you remember
New England.
last year what Tom Brady said about the fellow. Do you remember?
About the James White?
I do not.
Yeah, or Shane
about
Vereen.
about James White.
That he's a great tipper.
Yeah, he was like, man.
Just kidding. He was a rookie.
He
so
dropped.
couldn't be.
I believe he dropped an F-bomb with how much he loves him.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was last year, and so there was some.
We're
there
going to
was
have to effort that. Make sure that Jason's telling the truth. No,
I just make
like James
things
White.
up here.
But Kyrie Robinson is still there.
So is Travaris Cadet.
These are battles to watch.
Yeah. All right, Cowboys.
Wait, did I say?
Yes, you did.
Hold on.
It's
Mike,
whatever.
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead and
Breaking news.
read the next one for me.
Breaking news.
Well, no, we have to.
Breaking news: Kyrie Robinson.
No. That's Darren
no.
McFadden.
No, I said Kyrie Robinson when I clearly meant Cadet.
Oh, I don't have a "you're stupid" button. Hold on a second. All right, there you go. Darren McFadden remains sidelined. This is the 7th year running, and he's hoping to get off. His hamstring has been sore for 7 consecutive years.
No. He switched hamstrings. That's the other one now.
Oh my god,
They take
that's
turns.
true, isn't it?
Yep, it is
Okay.
actually true. It was.
If anybody wonders whether the word injury prone is an accurate statement for certain people, you just cannot avoid it. Certain people, Steven Jackson's, hamstrings
Yeah.
and quads and things, they
were too big.
it wasn't his fault. It's just genetics.
Yeah, you hear some people say, that there's no such thing as injury prone, but it's like there's a lot of data that says that the same guys get injured, and that the biggest teller of a future injury is previous injury. So that to me says that it's something worth looking at.
I almost said Joseph Randle, but I meant Lance Dunbar. Lance Dunbar is going to be involved in that offense a little bit. There were some reports that Joseph Randle might get about 15 carries a game.
Lance.
He might get a little more if McFadden's not in the mix at all, but this is a camp thing to pay attention to. See what the rotation looks like. See who's running with the ones. Speaking of injury prone, Washington Redskins, Jordan Reed, this is good news on him. Jay Gruden says he feels a difference with Reed this summer. Is this one of those good blurbs we just ignore?
Yep.
If you're going to go really late, Jordan Reed's a guy with massive talent, so why would you not gamble on him?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I know we're about to do the mock draft. Just to let everybody know, because we have people ask us, we have people use this all the time. What we use here at the Fantasy Footballers is fantasydraftwizard.com. It's super easy. It lets you actually do a mock draft from any position, any league size, any league makeup. You can draft against different rankings, and it's all free. It's all quick. So what we're going to do is a mock draft live so that you can hear our brains, hear our thoughts as to how.
Yeah. That's what my brain sounds like.
Well, right. Mike and I sound way better. But yeah, you get to actually watch as we get put on the clock with what our roster is and how we decide. So let's get into it.
The Fantasy Footballers Mock Draft.
All right, let's do it. Like I said, this is a 12-team standard league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a flex, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. We are drafting against the Yahoo, ESPN, and NFL.com rankings. And we think this is a good direction to go for this mock draft because sometimes you can get thrown off drafting against expert rankings because you're going to go into your leagues and a lot of people are going to bring in cheat sheets from other sources, and especially if you do a lot of your drafts online. If you draft on ESPN or on Yahoo, their top list is kind of the default list that somebody can use while they're drafting. And so we're going to take a run through this. We are going to draft from where are we? We're the 7th overall pick in this draft. And let's get it started. So first off the board in this mock draft, live mock draft, Jamal Charles goes off the board at number 1. Eddie Lacy comes in at number 2. Le'Veon Bell, with the suspension change from 3 to 2, is next with Adrian Peterson, Matt Forte, and Marshawn Lynch. So the top 6 picks are running backs.
Wow, all running backs in a 3 wide receiver.
Yes, a 3 wide receiver standard. So what are you guys thinking here with Antonio Brown still on the board, all of the wide receivers still on the board?
We could have our pick of wide receivers, but for me, and this is probably
Push
one of the
comes to
most
shove time.
most common questions that I get asked is around this spot in the draft, like the 7, 8, 9 range. What do you do? And in most of my responses for this specific year, I'm just so in love with getting that late a value on Arian Foster. I know, Andy, you've got him ranked as your number one. We've talked about him a lot. For me, if he is there, that's the guy that I'm always going to be looking for, and he's there. But there is a 3 wide receiver setup here, so what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would take a running back here, but what I'm interested in, I don't know if you guys want to do it because we're all working together, but of going wide receiver heavy at the beginning and seeing what our team ends up looking like.
That's fine with me. I think the hard thing with Arian and Jeremy Hill, because those names come to mind at this point in the draft, especially in a standard league, is can you wait on them somehow?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of drafts right now, you can still wait. I mean, I've had people send in tons of drafts where they're getting Foster in the second round or they're getting Hill in the second round, which leaves me completely dumbfounded because I have Foster as my number one back. But I'm curious, and I don't mind going ahead and drafting a wide receiver.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate there for a second, because I think that this makeup of a draft is one of the most common that our listeners are going to have, and I would like to put together our best team.
Okay.
All right.
So, and you people, if you're listening, use fantasydraftwizard.com to play around and do exactly what Mike's saying. Try taking wide receivers early, see how it works, play around. But we're going to try to do our best team here, I think.
So, best team tells me Arian Foster should be on our team.
I agree.
And for me, it would be
Is it
Hill.
CJ?
Hill is ranked much higher, but of Foster and Hill, I believe that Hill would be the guy that could make it back. So I'm fine taking Foster right here.
Well, let's take Foster. Let me give you the rundown. We took Arian Foster at the 7th pick. Antonio Brown.
Oh, there he goes. Hill's off.
Antonio Brown did go next. Aaron Rodgers went very high at number 9, or normal, I guess, for the leagues that I've been seeing. CJ Anderson. Rob Gronkowski goes at the tail end. I think that's good value at the 11th pick. And LaShawn McCoy rounded out the first round.
Then Mike's sadness. Jeremy Hill came off the board.
Yeah, sometimes you gamble and you lose.
Yeah, well, my number one wide receiver is still on the board. So Jeremy Hill, Odell Beckham Jr., DeMarco Murray, Des Bryant, and Demaryius Thomas. And so now we are sitting in the middle of the second round, and I'm staring at 2 wide receivers that I am in love with.
Yeah, I think we've got the same 2. Well, no, I probably have 2 different ones. I know one of them is going to be the same.
My 2 wide receivers are Jordy Nelson and Julio Jones.
My 2 are Demaryius Thomas. Is he still? No, he just went. So it would be Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones.
Well, my 2 are Julio and Calvin. I have them back to back in a standard. I actually have Calvin 1 spot ahead. So it sounds like our common denominator is probably Julio Jones. Do you guys want to run that direction, or do you have any consideration for another position here?
Yeah, I mean, we should just look at the running backs on the board, right?
Well,
it's a 3 wide receiver league, which means we're probably going to go wide receiver here. But
yeah, well, you got
still there.
Forsett, Gore. Those are really the only big names.
Now, it's a standard, which means Forsett doesn't get, those 70 catches he's going to get. He's not going to get points for them, but he's going to get an extra, 600 yards from that. I think in my stats, Forsett is still a top 10 standard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was mocked last time because I had Forsett top 10.
Are you done?
Yes.
All right. So we'll draft Julio Jones here. Julio Jones off the board.
Also, just to let you know, Andy, you've got him top 12. So you've got him as an RB1 in standard.
I didn't argue with him. I just couldn't believe how much venom.
There's a lot of venom
because
here.
You crushed me
It's the off season, brother.
No, during the last mock when I said I had Forsett hot top 10 for standard.
Well, we'll see.
Moving on.
I'm exceptionally happy about who rolled around here in round 3. So after Julio Jones, some highlight names here, Jordy Nelson and Calvin went next. So the 2 guys we mentioned. Andrew Luck off the board, AJ Green, Alshon Jeffrey, Randall Cobb. Forsett went with the first pick in the 3rd round in a standard league. So I think people are starting to agree with you, Mike.
I've heard he's creeping into the 2nd now.
He sure is, because he should be. So Mark Ingram went off the board. What do you think of Ingram in the top of the 3rd in a standard?
In standard, I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I still believe in Ingram.
Is that appropriate value or a good value?
That's appropriate value, I think. I started the offseason scorching hot on him. I cooled a bit, but I still really like him.
All right, coming around to our pick here, 7th pick of the 3rd round. Frank Gore is on the board. Alfred Morris, Carlos Hyde, Jonathan Stewart, Latavius Murray are some of the bigger names at the running back position. Some other guys we like, but probably not some. LeGarrette Blount, Joseph Randle, down a little further.
So let me ask you guys a pragmatic question here.
I thought you said a personal question.
Let me ask you a personal question because I've got these things I got to show you.
Body hair.
Body hair.
What is your stance?
So the way that I look at this, we've got 3 wide receiver and a flex in this league, and there are a lot of wide receivers on the board right now that I absolutely love. Like, right now I really like Emmanuel Sanders. I love DeAndre Hopkins, but there's only one running back that I feel like is a step above to me, which is Frank Gore. But I don't expect him to be as high as, say, a DeAndre Hopkins. So this is just a question to ask from the point of view of a listener, which would say, how do you make that determination between a few players left at one position, a lot left at another? Maybe you like the wide receiver more than the running back, or vice versa.
I completely echo exactly what you said. I was, in fact, going to say that. Probably close to verbatim, but slightly better, more eloquent than you.
I hear you.
But there's a tier of wide receivers that I like, and I'm confident that at least one will make it back, and Frank Gore will not make it back, and I like him very much.
Well, and Gore is the pick
Very
for me.
much.
I think part of the question Jason's asking is that head-to-head, would you say Hopkins is a better overall pick than Gore?
Yeah, I mean,
If you take the position scarcity or what's on the board out, is that the question kind of?
In a situation where you assume he is, does the position scarcity force you to take that other player? It was the question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it does, right?
Yeah, it does. And they're so close. Those two guys are so close. If you were staring down Alshon Jeffrey and Frank Gore,
right,
it would be a different story for me.
Yes.
But right now, these two guys are back-to-back almost on my overall board. So I think Gore at the position that, we need him. He's on a much better offense. I mean, you couldn't have polar different, different offenses than those two teams.
No Jimmy Graham.
No Jimmy Graham.
And that is another pro tip that we haven't shared in a long time. But picking players on good offenses really, really matters. And
especially at the running back position, because we talked about that stat, right? 9 out of 10 of the running backs from last year on 500 or higher teams.
And, of course, that would be another deal breaker. We would have gone Hopkins and Foster, both from Houston.
That is a good point. So DeAndre Hopkins goes directly after. We took Frank Gore for the people listening. We took Frank Gore. DeAndre Hopkins went next. Then Kelvin Benjamin, Emmanuel Sanders, Russell Wilson, and Alfred Morris wrapping up the third round. Did I say Russell? Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. With the 17 pack, we pick Russell Wilson.
That's that guy that just signed that contract, right?
Yeah.
There was 2 completely different people.
Russell?
Yeah, Russell Wilson is not that guy.
Jimmy Graham does go off the board. First pick of the 4th round. Jason, value or not?
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about double dribble. Russell Wilson, that's how they would have said it.
The old Nintendo.
The old Nintendo game. Russell, double dribble. Oh. All right, sorry, was there a fantasy football question here?
I just wanted to know if Jimmy Graham was a good value at that position. I'm curious your thought. That's probably right where you want him.
For me in the 4th, that is a good value. I still have him as the number 2 tight end. I know you guys have him more number 3. I think he's a good value. I still probably would not draft him there because the value you're getting is appropriate for him, but you're missing out on other positions, and I feel I can get a tight end late. So I wouldn't take him there, but if you want a tight end, this is where you take Jimmy Graham is 4, not 2, 3 turn. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And so after Jimmy went Gurley, Hyde, Jay Stu, and Drew Brees, which brings me to our pick and a question. Drew Brees went off the board. Russell Wilson went off the board. Peyton Manning is on the board in round 4. Mike, what is the value of Peyton Manning in the 4th round? Is he any consideration for you, or is the 3 wide receiver league push you towards a wide receiver here?
It'll be the ladder for me. The ladder that I climb, where I do not draft Peyton Manning in the 4th round. The value, I like Peyton Manning a lot. I still think he's going to have a fantastic season. I believe it was the leg injury that really led to the decline of his numbers. But I'm not going to take him in the 4th. If this was the 5th round and we had 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, I would think about it. But we're not in that position right now. So I would much rather grab...
So if quarterback's off the board...
Right. I would much rather grab a running back or a wide receiver. And to me, we gambled on the tier, still having a few guys. And Brandon Cooks, Jordan Matthews, Andre Johnson are still on the board.
Yes, as are Keenan Allen, Brandon Marshall, Deshaun Jackson, Julian Edelman. I think we see a pretty significant tier gap there. Is Jordan Matthews is probably the guy for me.
He is without a doubt my pick. Now, we both like Andre Johnson a lot, but this is a standard league, so touchdowns are going to matter. Andre Johnson is on a great offense. He could get touchdowns, but that's never been really his MO. He's a high volume, high catch, high yards. And Jordan Matthews, as a rookie, caught 8 touchdowns. So he's proven he can do it. And with Macklin's touchdowns going, I love Macklin this year. Or
What?
yeah. No.
Okay,
not Macklin.
hold
I
on,
love
hold on.
Matthews.
I think that not Brandon Cooks. I think Jordan Matthews is the pick here, but I've got a water bet for you.
Oof.
Or for whoever wants it. Andre Johnson more touchdowns than Jordan Matthews.
Yes,
I want
will take
that. Oh, we got yes.
Water bet.
Oh, that's
I'm going to
great.
put that on the board.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
For those that don't know what a water bet is, somebody want to explain?
Go, Jason.
Water bet is basically we put our lives on the line here when we make bets, because we're going to take out a special app that we have coming to you soon that we are developing, and it is a wheel of water, and
It is a punishment app.
it's a punishment app, so that when you make bets with people, you can spin this
Yeah, pay the price.
wheel, and it will give you one of, what are there, 25 different punishments with
Yes.
how to take a cup of water in the face or on the body.
This is the evolution of something we invented over the years
Yeah.
that we used to do in
Water
our
bets.
own fantasy leagues.
So there you go.
So, okay, we got a water bet then. Mike's putting it on the board. Andre Johnson versus Jordan Matthews in touchdowns. I will enjoy defeating you both. So, Jordan Matthews is the pick, however. I'll go with the consensus, and I will go with not
Also,
throwing two Colts on the same
May I just
roster.
Okay, was that the reason? Because I was going to say, if you actually believe he's going to get more touchdowns, he should have been the pick here.
I
you.
think it's pretty close, and,
right.
and the mitigating difference was the same
Colts.
roster Colts
Yeah,
situation.
makes
Not that I don't like that offense. Brandon Cooks, Peyton Manning, Latavius Murray, Julian Edelman, Joik Bell, Andre Johnson wrapping up the fourth. Andre Ellington, a little news blurb came out that Bruce Arians is expecting 20 touches a game for Ellington again this year.
Yeah. How'd that work out last year?
Well, again, one season a career does not make.
No, it doesn't. But I don't think when we're talking about guys with size, and you especially don't agree with me on Abdullah because of his size. Abdullah is bigger than Ellington.
Well, and the thing is Ellington, I think, is already banged up, and I think his hammy's a little hurting.
yeah,
And
so is David Johnson, though.
I think everybody's hamstring in the NFL is hurting right now.
Yeah, it would
They were all in Tahiti last week, so
it would hurt for me, too, if I could get out of practice.
Deshaun Jackson, TJ
My
Yeldon.
hammy.
TJ Yeldon goes in the middle of the fifth. What do we think about TJ Yeldon?
I think that's pretty nice.
I think that's a really good value.
Pretty nice.
Martavis Bryant, who we
Great
talked about
value.
earlier,
If
middle of the fifth.
Middle of the fifth in a standard league, he's a touchdown machine. So I do like the value.
Huge
in the fifth.
contrast with the pick after him, Jarvis Landry, in a non-PPR. I think I'd rather have Bryant.
Yeah.
And Tevin Coleman, another rookie. So we've seen several rookie running backs off the board. In fact, you had Gurley go with the second pick of the fourth round, Yeldon in the fifth, Coleman in the fifth. Where did Gordon go? Gordon went in the third. And so a number of rookie running backs off the board. We're sitting here with the seventh pick in the fifth round. What are we thinking?
So right now we've got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and we've got some good running backs and wide receivers on the board. And there is also a fantasy footballer's favorite of Travis Kelce that is sitting there as well. So he's got to be in consideration here. Some of the wide receivers we're looking at would be Brandon Marshall, Keenan Allen, Vincent Jackson, and then some of the...
And Jordan Taylor, Austin Pettis. What
Yes.
are you doing? You went way too far down.
All right, so some
I
of
was
the
trying to pull up the tight ends for you.
running backs, CJ Spiller, Joseph Randall, LeGarrette Blount. When we get to those guys, like LeGarrette Blount, I like a lot more than Chris Ivory, but not that much. And Chris Ivory, you can get rounds later.
Our roster right now is Arian Foster and Frank Gore, and Julio Jones and Jordan Matthews. Mike, do you have a strong opinion here?
Yeah, my pick is Travis Kelce.
So Travis Kelce here in the
5th round.
fifth round.
To me, Travis Kelce to me has...
This is where I probably don't take Kelce.
Who
Okay.
would you take? Because I know who I would take and I know why, but I'm curious who you would take here.
I I just think because of the extra wide receiver position plus the flex, I want more depth. And so for me, I actually take Joseph Randle.
Okay.
I take Randle here.
To me, what I was going to say is Kelsey, to me, has the absolute most chance, besides Gronk, to get double-digit touchdowns. And Graham can as well. But those three are who I would look to possibly get 10.
Jeremy Macklin's getting every touchdown on that team. No, I'm just kidding. So, Jason, I mean, you make the pick.
Okay, so
I'm okay with Kelsey. That's my perspective, is there's an extra spot to fill, and if I think I can get value at tight end later, right? Like, there's some guys we like towards the end. We like Witten, we like Ertz, we like Eifert, we like some of these different. I like Vernon Davis as a flyer late in the draft. So do you take, because Kelsey's still a degree of flyer.
Yeah.
He's a degree of unprovenness.
I will agree with that.
And so for me, that's just my perspective. I'm okay with the pick either way. Mike, what do you think?
Well, I thought you were asking
Jason.
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 So for me, the wide receiver I like best on the board is actually Vincent Jackson, who will be there later. And I'm not crazy about Joseph Randle. I'm curious if there's any way he could make it back. Probably not. But because I look at who else, like if I'm not taking Keenan Allen or Brandon Marshall, there's Vincent Jackson that I really like. If I'm not taking C.J. Spiller or Joseph Randle, there's LeGarrette Blount. But to me, there's Kelsey and then the rest as far as my tiers go. So I'm at the end of a tier, which is where I like to pick up, he's the last tier one type of tight end difference maker. So I would go Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce is the pick. He is off the board, and we're going to climb into the 6th round.
Oh, no.
Joseph Randle went off the board 2 picks before us.
Yeah. And right before him was Vincent Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh! We need it. This is what's fun about fantasy football, though. Is at the draft, those are fun to just. Oh, you hate the guy right in front of you all the time, and this is a computer. Yeah. I hate FantasyDraftWizard.com.
I hate you.
But
I respect you.
I cannot take Jeremy Maclin here in the 6th round due to the Travis Kelce factor and the total.
Oh, man, that's too bad. That was my pick.
Yeah, right.
Also due to Mike and Jason not allowing it by veto power.
Can we make another Maclin bet? It's been a while.
No. We've got enough of those on the board.
All right, so some other wide receivers on the board: Jeremy Maclin, Golden Tate, Allen Robinson, Roddy White. You guys take a look at some of those. I'm going to read off a little bit of what's left or what went off the board. Amari Cooper went off in the 5th round. What do we think about that?
That's not too bad, I would say. I mean,
he was one of the guys I was looking at.
He went ahead of Brandon Marshall in a standard.
That is not what I would agree with.
Okay.
I would not agree with that.
All right. Thank you for your formal opinion. Mike, who else is... Do we look at quarterback at all? Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is available. Big Ben is available. Cam Newton, Tony Romo. Those would be the 4 in the next tier to me. You still have Tannehill, Manning, Stafford, Rivers, Brady, Kaepernick.
I like Matt Ryan a lot this year, but I think with the extra position and the fact we took a tight end, I think because we took that and we're a little short on the running back wide receiver, we can't take a quarterback.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm so mad that you guys didn't take Randall. I'm looking at these running backs, and now you're staring down. I mean, I like Crowell. That's fine.
Crowell.
I think Crowell's at top on my board from what's left, which is Bernard, Abdullah, Jennings, Crowell, Ivory, Doug Martin, Vereen. Devontae Freeman is in the consideration for me, too.
You know what I've decided with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, if I may, just for a second? Because I've got a couple pieces of stock in Tevin Coleman and MFL 10s, and the truth is, I am really deciding now. A little too late. I'm hopping off the whole Atlanta Falcons running game because the more that I think about this realistically, it's going to be a complete running back by committee. Neither one is going to completely win the job, and it's not a great offensive line. So I don't know. The reports that are good on Freeman scare me because I don't think he's actually a quality back, and they're going to keep playing him and Tevin. So they're just going to eat into each other's value. That's just my
I got nothing to say.
Expert analysis.
What's the pick here?
Oh man, I got so caught up in thinking about Freeman. Scroll it on down. So I would like to go wide receiver here if we could. And my pick out of these guys, since we're in a standard league, is I think it's surprisingly still Allen Robinson. is the guy I have ranked highest out of who is left.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to start moving the draft along, so we better have one guy make the pick here. So for me, I like Macklin more than I do these guys, but it's hard having just drafted Kelsey. At the running back position, I'd probably go Crowell here if it's me.
I'm fine with Crowell.
I'm fine with either of those guys, but I do think there's a chance that Allen Robinson could be a monster, and we need 3 wide receivers on the roster plus flex. So that
define monster, because that's a very strong statement.
I think there's a chance that Allen Robinson
because the offense wasn't good. They don't score touchdowns at the wide receiver position. Bortles in his second year. They'll probably depend on Yeldon. Why could Robinson break out?
They upgraded their offensive line, which not only helps the running game, but it helps Bortles a lot for what his issue was. You have Allen Robinson, who was a physical freak, and then Cecil Shorts left. We talked about this last week. And so I think that there's an opportunity here for him to get more of the percentage of targets, and I think he's a better wide receiver than anybody they've had in a long time. And so I think he has the talent to actually use the opportunity to make the team better, to get into the end zone. When you have that much volume, you have more opportunity to score when you've got that kind of freak athleticism. So that's why.
To be fair, Justin Blackmon was very good.
Well, sure. I just don't consider him a real person.
But that's a point for Jacksonville, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
So Gio Bernard off the board, Darren McFadden, Golden Tate.
We took Allen Robinson.
I acquiesced. Big Ben went with the last pick of the 6th round, which I think is fine. Roddy White, Brandon LaFell, Martellus Bennett. That's not the same player.
He was drafted twice.
Jeremy Macklin, Torrey Smith, and Julius Thomas. Let's make some quick picks here. We got to get through the rest of this one.
My pick right here would be Crowell.
Yeah, Isaiah Crowell is still on the board. I'm all about that. If you notice the news lately, Terrence West and Duke Johnson are both a little banged up, and Crowell has the ability to really be the between the tackles guy regardless. Standard league, he'll be scoring the touchdowns.
I am great with that.
All right, so Isaiah Crowell comes off the board. Our roster is Foster, Gore, Julio Jones, Jordan Matthews, Allen Robinson, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Crowell. I loved this team in the beginning. I don't know why I don't love it now.
Because you're all mad that we took Travis Kelce.
No, I'm not mad. It's just reflection. I'm just looking at the team and not liking what it looks like in the mirror yet. That's all.
You should have a talk with the man in the mirror.
It's my fault. I've got the mouse in my hand. Amir Abdullah went right after Isaiah Crowell. Steve Smith, Jason Witten, Stafford went at the end of the 7th. And then any highlights there in the 8th round. Mike Wallace went fairly late. Cam Newton in the 8th round in a standard. I think that is great value for Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's not too bad for the runner.
And so do we consider quarterback, or are we still looking wide receiver or running back here with basically our starting roster filled? There are 5 bench positions on this team, and we do have a lot of positions to fill. So for me, I'm probably waiting still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with Larry Fitzgerald still on the board, who I think has a chance to bounce back. He was projecting as a good wide receiver 2 last year with Palmer healthy. Any other guys that jump out? Marcus Colston, Pierre Garçon. You still have Ivory on the board. Devontae Freeman still on the board. So if you want to take your lottery ticket on that backfield, what do we think?
I think the pick here for me would be Chris Ivory, because I like
really, even
him.
in 3 wide receiver where we don't have a bench wide receiver.
Yes, even in 3 wide, I would load up here because I feel like there's always tons of flyer wide receivers who I love, and we're running out of running backs who I like.
Yeah, I would go Larry Fitzgerald here. So Andy, you make the pick.
I will. I'll side with Mike on this. I'll go Ivory.
All right.
So we'll take Ivory. We'll load up our bench with another guy. It's not like Foster doesn't get hurt occasionally. And so Tony Romo goes next. Kobe Fleener, Zach Ertz, Tom Brady, Antonio Gates, and Jordan Cameron ends the 8th round. Okay. So we have back-to-back wide receivers to start the 9th. Nelson Aguilar and Jalen Strong. Which guy do you like more?
Nelson Aguilar.
Oh, by a mile. I love Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, all signs out of camp are that he will start immediately, and he'll be on the outside with Jordan Matthews. And
the reason I bring it up is because Jalen Strong was actually in consideration as a sleeper for me in our segment earlier today. Because in fantasy, especially with the wide receiver position, to me, the cream rises to the top. And I just don't think Cecil Shorts or Nate Washington can do very much in Houston. Now, the quarterback position, they might not be able to do very much there anyway. But I think Jalen Strong, by the end of the year, will be contributing in wide receiver 2 on that team. Ways.
For me, I feel like both of these guys have a chance to be the wide receiver 2 for the team, but the offense is better in Philly, and one of these guys has the chance to be the wide receiver 1, which would be Nelson Aguilar. So I would definitely go Aguilar here.
But he's gone.
I thought you were saying that we were between those two guys.
We were saying they just went off.
Yeah, they just went at the beginning of the 9th round.
Well, just draft him anyway. He's really good.
That is what you often try to do in our drafts.
Every draft.
Shane Vereen, value in the 9th round here? Maybe not.
Maybe in standard.
Probably not in a standard league.
I'm more and more. I am talking myself into taking a late round pick on Andre Williams.
Yeah?
Yeah,
that seems wild to me.
He was not good last year. If you look at the metrics,
from a goal line back,
right? But he still had 8 touchdowns, and there's someone who constantly reminds me that 1 year does not a career make. Do you know who that guy was?
Yeah, that was me. I say that all the time.
But Andre Williams,
you apply it to nothing except for Andre Williams.
No, I'm applying it right now when you're disagreeing with me.
Yeah, I am, because the backfield's like jam-packed, and I just think...
But he is a goal line back.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So I'm not saying I would take him right here, but just I'm tossing that up for now.
All right, here, we've got a backup running back already. I think we have to go wide receiver here.
Larry Fitzgerald's still on the board from last round.
That was my pick.
So we'll grab him. We'll roll into the 10th round, and Devontae Freeman goes in the 10th. As does our first defense off the board. Trey Mason goes off in the 10th. Duke Johnson in the 10th.
Tannehill also... Yeah, did you mention...
Tannehill is off the board at the beginning of the 10th round.
Which is exactly where I'm normally looking for him, is in the 10th.
Yeah, so Eli Manning's still available. So is Phillip Rivers. Colin Kaepernick. I mean, Kaepernick's a guy that I love, and I will take in all my drafts.
Me too.
But maybe not here, because he drops.
I was going to say, for quarterback, for all of us, there's at least one guy who we'd like... that we can get by still waiting at least a few rounds.
All right, so let's make these picks here quick. Are you thinking running back at this point, if we're not looking at quarterback and we just took a wide receiver, or are you best available?
Best available for me.
All right, so Garcon, Bolden, John Brown, Devontae Adams, Victor Cruz, Ruben Randall, Stevie Johnson.
Ruben Randall for me.
Okay. Well, we're going to let you make the pick because we're running out of time on this draft.
Okay, so. Ruben Randall
off the board. That gives us another...
You got to draft him.
Oh, I tried. I clicked the button. There we go. Ruben Randall off the board.
The system did not want us to have Randall.
Well, these drafts are a little longer. 12 team with the extra roster spot.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit more... little thinner out there. D-Will. Wow. 10th round pick. D'Angelo Williams. Charles Sims. Fred Jackson goes in the 10th. We are getting thinner. And now big quarterback run.
How many quarterbacks have been drafted?
Yeah, so we fell behind on the quarterbacks here. Eli, Rivers, Kaepernick, and Bradford all went.
Well, there's still a quarterback out there that all three of us really, really love. I like him as much as everybody there.
Who's that?
Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I don't love Carson Palmer as my only.
No? I play in a stream. No. So for me as a streamer, I'm happy to take Carson Palmer.
Would you think about taking Palmer and Bridgewater here?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
In back-to-back picks to finish up our draft?
Yep, I would. You guys want to take... I think Bridgewater's the guy you take before Palmer.
Because
probably.
He's based on list.
Higher,
yeah.
All right, so let's do that. Let's wrap up our draft. We have lived...
No, Carson Palmer.
Did he go? Did he really go?
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is a great opportunity to show what can happen when you stream a quarterback and you wait until the very end of the draft and every one of your other team's drafts back.
We are failing on the gambles.
Well, let me.
Hey, your boy.
Let me explain what happened here.
Alexico.
We have 19 quarterbacks that have been drafted.
That's insane.
So I don't expect to see that happen very often. A few backups normally go off the board, but we had 19. We gambled. We lost a little bit. So if you, one guy that I still love. Two guys that I love here, and this is why it still works.
You have tons of guys you still love on there.
To me, Alex Smith and Mariota are two guys that you can absolutely stream with Bridgewater.
I also will throw...
I love Alex Smith this year.
I will also throw Andy Dalton in there as a perfect streamer.
Sure. So
And I will throw Joe Flacco in.
Yeah,
there.
so there's still plenty of options with 19 off the board.
Well, the beautiful thing is I can draft Alex Smith, and you guys can't do anything about it. He just went off the board. He moved up in my rankings this week. I really I've talked about him a little bit last week.
Let's find our last sleeper running back or wide receiver for the Peoples.
Yes,
We got one.
We
bench
have
spot.
one more spot.
All right.
So we're talking late, right? Last pick. These are sometimes the picks that make or break teams. So of all the guys that are left who are at the very last pickings, who do we think has a chance to perform? I like throwing a flyer on James White.
I like throwing the flyer on Stevie Johnson.
Let's go Stevie Johnson. It's a 3 wide receiver league. I think he is a good sleeper candidate. He's another guy that popped into my mind when we had that segment earlier. And so let's run it back here. We will post this draft on the website, on the episode page. We will try to work it into the YouTube video as well. Right now we have a pair of quarterbacks, Alex Smith and Teddy Bridgewater. Does that give you a scared feeling?
Not at all.
All right. Arian Foster, Frank Gore at starting running backs. We also have Isaiah Crowell, Chris Ivory on the roster. We have Julio Jones, Jordan Matthews, Allen Robinson, Larry Fitzgerald, Ruben Randall, and Stevie Johnson at the wide receiver position, which is a nice deep set of wide receivers for a 3 wide receiver with a flex league. I like that. I looking at them in completion there, I'm pretty happy. And then Travis Kelce at the tight end position.
I actually think we should have had one more running back, but that's all right.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's what we decided at the end, right? We decided between.
I wasn't taking into account our roster. I was just looking at best.
So you would have gone James White. Now that you look at it,
maybe other or whoever, a running back sleeper right there.
Somebody else. All right, that's it for our live 12-team mock draft. Hopefully that gave you some more perspective. Let's go ahead and answer a few listener questions.
Mailbag.
Is that the post-draft depression mailbag? What was that?
That was the I'm trying to click on something
and you forgot your cue?
I gotta think of something that's hilarious.
All right, if you've got a question for us, it is very simple. Go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click the Submit a Question button in the upper right-hand corner. You can also call us at 302-464-TFFB and leave us a voicemail question. We're going to start by answering a couple voicemail questions tonight.
Hey guys, this is Miro from Dubai. Great show. I have a quick question for you guys. I'm in a league where there's a 2 quarterback format, 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flexes, and a defense. It's a PPR league. I was just wondering, in the first 3 rounds or 4 rounds, should I be concentrating on a quarterback, or should I be doing the standard picking where you look towards running back heavy? Looking forward to your advice, guys. Thanks.
What do you guys think?
I think
this is a 2 quarterback league.
I think we just showed with our draft the absolute depth with quarterback. I mean, we had 19 guys go off of the list, and we still didn't panic. We still ended up with great quarterbacks who we like. Now, if a top tier guy is there, like Rodgers, Luck, maybe second round or late first, I'll grab one. But otherwise, I'm still going to focus normal.
Wow. That is not my advice at all.
Mine either. So we got a dispute here. I would concentrate on quarterbacks for sure in a 2 quarterback league. I think the disparity does happen a lot. You don't want to end up with one of those guys after, starting one of those 24 guys where you can't just stream matchups, but week in, week out, having to play them against good matchups and bad matchups. That's a killer.
Yeah,
so
you can't presume streaming success. That's one of the reasons why they're called streamers. You don't draft Carson Palmer or Bridgewater at the end and just say, this is my guy, because you don't know. And in a 2 quarterback league, you need at least one guy that you know. Yeah. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah,
so
I would be perfectly happy with Sam Bradford and Carson Palmer.
You've always had late quarterback cojones, though.
Yep.
And it has worked very well for me.
It has. It's true.
I can't argue with that.
I think we should.
Fellas, how we doing? This is Ryan from Utah. I'm just calling about the Eagles' backfield with DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews. I feel like those 2 backs, with how much they've been injured in the past, I feel like if I wanted to grab DeMarco, it would be smart to grab Ryan Matthews as a handcuff, because I have a feeling, I don't know if you guys think the same way, that it might be more of a committee instead of just DeMarco getting the load because of their injuries. So just let me know. Thanks.
Well, I think we agree with you.
Absolutely.
Matthews is a great handcuff. I like to look at the Eagles as a committee, and I'm not joking.
Really?
As a team, the team philosophy and the offensive philosophy is a committee. There is not a much to yours. I mean, you almost said this. You guys just said it with Nelson Aguilar. You just said he could be a 1. Jason did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree. There's a committee at the wide receiver position. There's a committee at the running back position, and some guys are going to have a little higher stats than the other guys, and DeMarco's the guy there.
I think
But-
DeMarco still gets 65 to 70% though.
Yeah.
But it's hard to come by a better handcuff. And both guys are injury prone, so who knows?
Great value there. And if DeMarco goes down, he's a beast. So
Yeah, I agree. So let's do another voicemail question.
What's up, you double stuff studs? Thanks so much for the show. Really, really love it. Just a couple questions for you. I'll try and keep it under 45 seconds. First question, Doug Martin. His ADP is in like the 8th round. I've been burned by him in the past, but just wondering if you think there's a potential for a bounce back. They say he's lost weight and looks pretty good. Second question is, know your league, right? So in my family league, 10-team, half-point PPR, pretty much everyone drafts 2 quarterbacks and stashes them. It's not a 2-quarterback league. Wondering if you would draft like a Matty Ice or a Tannehill a little bit earlier and roll with them for the majority of the season, or continue streaming. And I'm thinking maybe like a Kaepernick or a Bridgewater, Palmer, maybe one of the Eagles QBs will still be there to to stream towards the end of the draft. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for the show. All right.
What do you think, Mike?
I agree when he said the Kaepernick, Bridgewater, those two. I think I can get quarterback 1 performances out almost every single week.
And Doug Martin?
Oh, I think Doug Martin is a
Is
decent
he Chris
pick.
Ivory? Is he that late round guy that ends up
Yeah, absolutely.
somehow going late, but
People
might be
have
a
been
starter?
burned by Doug Martin in the past because you took him in the first 1 or 2 or 3 rounds. Yeah, you're not going to be burned by a guy in the 8th.
I will tell you this: there will be a starting running back for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And
Fact.
it was already announced.
Yeah,
It's
Doug Martin.
Doug Martin.
Yeah.
So-
All right, let's
him.
answer a couple more quick ones here.
Hey guys, Travis from Houston. Mike, thanks for the sausage dip recipe.
Oh, yeah.
That will be happening this year. Just quick question: why is everyone so in love with rookie running backs this year? Unproven, haven't played a snap yet. I'm in a keeper league, so definitely young talent is something I keep an eye out for. But I'm just not buying that any of these rookie running backs are going to come in and make an impact. What say you?
You can get your hand up.
Yeah.
No. That's the Monte Bell. Because, yeah, man, preaching to the choir over here. You
Okay,
gotta
so
slow
well,
out
you're
your
preaching
ball.
to
yeah,
at
yeah.
least 1/3 of the choir.
How about
Whatever.
the Trent Richardson, Doug Martin year?
Here's what I think.
Two
I think
RB1s.
I think
It's
2
not
years
a rule.
ago,
I'm just saying there's a difference between a guy you see play on the field and a guy that you don't.
last year we came in before
Everybody
the year.
wants Chris Johnson, but there's a lot of guys in between.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Last year we came into the year knowing there was an exceptionally deep wide receiver draft class. That the wide receivers were great. And what did they do last year? They were literally the best rookie wide receiver class in the history of the NFL, and they won people championships in fantasy football.
Did we know that, though?
Yes, beforehand.
we
Everyone
did.
was saying it. And during that year, last year, they were saying it's a weak running back class, but watch out for next year. This is 2 years ago that we've been waiting for this year's running back class. I believe they are studs, and so I want my chips on them. That's my take.
All right. And that's just a philosophical thing with fantasy. I mean, if I believe in a guy, I think Gordon has a great opportunity. When guys have opportunities, you got to roll them out there. I just know that if it comes down to foundational players on my fantasy roster, I like seeing. Seeing is believing.
What round is the earliest you'll take a rookie running back?
I think Yeldon and Gordon I would take in the top 4.
In top. So 4th round, 3rd round, you wouldn't do it.
I would. Yeah, I'd think about 3rd round.
Okay. Then that's all we're talking.
No,
about.
I know, and it's not really a debate. I just am agreeing with him that there's a lot of hype around it, and you just don't know. And this is the time to see it with camp and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get red flags and you can get green lights. So that's all the time we have. Be sure to check out FanDuel.com. It is very simple. You put in the promo code BALLERS when you sign up on FanDuel, play some daily fantasy football. You can actually start playing very, very soon. We've had a lot of people sign up and get ready for the season. Use the promo code BALLERS. You help out the show, and you get up to $200 of extra dollars on all your deposits.
On your first deposit.
Yep.
On
but
your
only
first? No, it's on. I think it's on every up to your first 200.
Yeah,
Up
to your first 200.
Oh, I thought you were implying that you could just keep getting matched 200 every single time.
No. They send you the money for that.
That's true.
But that's it. We've got a good segment coming up on Thursday with a special guest talking DFS and a lot of good news and information. Be sure to check it out. Hope you liked the mock draft. We'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.